Welcome to the Mss Francois Show. I am your host, Mss Francois. That's MSS for multi-talented and super sexy. What is the Mss Francois Show about? It's about having candid conversation, a variety of entertainment, and we use humor to help you deal with your dysfunctional relationship. Today, I have a beautiful young guest by the name of Autumn Green. She is a financial coach who helps people protect, grow, and align their money to their financial goals. She was in debt and hated the way it felt and constantly, basically she owed a lot of money, right? And she couldn't pay it off and she felt like crap. So she found different ways to help people deal with their finances.
Basically.
See, I'm not good for reading these things. I'm good at improv. So welcome, Autumn Green. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
You look beautiful.
Thanks.
So one of the reasons I want to have you on the show is because we're in tax season, and when it even comes to relationships, finance is definitely one of the top 5 deal breakers. Yeah. Hence, I ain't got no man, because these days these men are making enough money for me.
Ooh.
Yes, I said it. So anyway, the first questions I want to just dive in is that when people are in relationships, a lot of times, men and women, whatever relationship, people are going out to dinner. My number one thing is who's supposed to pay for that dinner? Because it ain't me.
I'll be honest with you. It doesn't matter what it looks like to the outside. What matters is that both people are on the same page about what is happening and what is not happening. I think a lot of the times people will expect certain things to happen. Like you said, like, I don't want to pay. It's not going to be me. And then you come to the dinner maybe not having communicated that. And then when he winds up not paying, then you're mad and you're disappointed. And so I think the bigger question is like, what conversation needs to be had before we get to the dinner so that we're on the same page and we can actually enjoy the time in front of each other rather than thinking about what you're actually thinking about or not thinking about. It's communication.
First of all, why is she shouting at me? She have a mic.
Because I'm passionate.
Over passionate. Up to now, I just want to know who was paying for this dinner. But all I heard was the man should pay for the dinner. But I totally understand what she's saying.
That is not what I said. That is not what I said. What I said is 2 people need to be on the same page, and it doesn't matter who pays, so long as both people can
communicated.
agree. It's communication.
Right. Okay, so guys, make sure you're communicating to that person to decide maybe who is paying for the dinner, maybe who asks who out first, so we don't get there and someone has to end up washing dishes. Right? So with that said, like I said, we have tax time and all these different things that's coming up, right? When it comes in terms of filing taxes and you're married, does it have a right way or a wrong way when people are doing that?
I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way, but I do think that there are some things to think about, right? Like you get more tax incentives when you are married, but I think that there are some situations where being single, it might benefit you, right? Like if you were to work with a CPA and allow that CPA certified public accountant, allow that person to itemize and determine, like together or separate, estimate what would be your cost for taxes. I think it depends. I don't think you should decide to do it together just because that's the way it's always been done or somebody told you to. Actually look at your context and see what works for you.
So when it comes to marriages, you said that you definitely get more tax incentives. So give me some examples of some tax incentives when you're married.
Tax incentives when you're married, I mean, you're combining incomes, right? And so tax incentives when you're married, there's a standard deduction that typically individuals will have to either take. But let's say you're married and you have 2 people who are making a lot of income. But if they're making a lot of income and there's taxes that's being taken out, let me backtrack. Sometimes as an individual, you might not be able to take as many deductions versus if you are together. And so let's say there's a medical expense that happens, right? You can deduct up to 7.5% of your adjusted gross income from your taxes for a medical expense. But if you combine your income together, that might affect what actually results in 7.5% of your income. But you got to determine like what is going to be that 7.5% for you. So example is a medical expense, to answer your question.
For someone with no man, she definitely know a lot about people who are married. That's pretty awesome. So what are some common mistakes people would make with money and relationships?
Using love as an excuse to not communicate and not plan. Like, I love him. It's fine. We're going to work out. Like, I don't have to ask questions about who's paying the rent and who's going to get the furniture together, who's going to go out and buy the groceries, who's going to cook. I just love this person. And I think it's somewhat of an excuse to not communicate and not plan. And then when things pop up, because you had expectations all along, like you say you love this person, but in the back of your head, we all have expectations of how we want things to go. And if you're not communicating, you're not on the same page.
Right.
And then when that person doesn't do what you expected, now you're mad. But it's because you loved them.
Well, I did. We're talking in general, not me.
No, in general.
My fault.
No shade. I mean, unless you feel attacked, that's on you. But
Yeah, just a little. But you said with the whole communicating thing and relationship. But when is it a good time to bring up the finances? The first date, the second date, the third date? When should I get his credit report, copy of his ID? Like, when is the right time?
yeah, I think as soon as you're ready to.
Okay,
right?
so
Like,
but then again, it's two people. So how would that person might be receiving that? So couldn't that cause more conflict?
definitely can cause more conflict, and I think there is a strategic way to go about it too.
All right,
because-
tell me, because I just asked people for their social security number because I want to.
Right, and I
find their
think that
credit.
can be way too like invasive and direct. I think there's more in asking a question that will help you understand how somebody manages their money rather than what they have.
So give me some questions, because you're trying to help me right
So,
now.
tell me, what's your approach to debt? How do you leverage debt? To what extent do you leverage debt in building wealth?
Oh, that's a fancy question. Wait, asking me my business?
Yeah, answer it.
I don't. I spend whenever I get money, I guess. So
I spend whenever I get money.
money.
That tells me a lot about how you manage
Okay,
money.
calm down. That was just an example. This not what.
But I'm saying if I'm on a
Wait,
date,
can
I'm
someone-
making a
can
note
someone
like, oh,
kindly,
okay.
Kindly read
Yeah.
in the back of these
Red
things. and-
flag.
Is it Autumn Green show? Because I'm confused right now. She's attacking me. Okay, it's Mss Francois Show, people. So what's another good question someone should maybe ask someone?
What is the biggest mistake that you've made with money? And what did you learn from it?
Wow. You're really sexy right about now, but too
Ooh,
bad
thank
you're
you,
not my
girl.
time. So, this is a good question. Best practices for managing finance, dating versus being married.
It goes back to that communication. Like you have to have some type of goal, right? It has to be planned. It has to be communicated, and you have to be held accountable. And this can happen even though you're single. So for me, I'm single. There's a plan that I have for my wealth building journey, and it's communicated on paper. There's a lot of times we have these goals and these aspirations, and they exist in our head, but when life is lifing, we don't remember what we said. You have to write it out. You have to make the vision plain. So getting it out on
So
paper.
by writing it down on paper, what it's reminding you put it up somewhere to tell yourself these are the goals.
Yeah, and like especially for single people, like it's your form of holding yourself accountable. Now it's important to have another person that you can, work with and hold each other accountable. But that written piece of paper with your plan, that's what keeps you on the straight and narrow when there's so many things, so many distractions coming up that can cause you to derail your wealth building journey.
So when it comes to even like you said wealth building journey, and it comes to saving, you hear so many different things people say out there about how much money you need to save up. You maybe should have some for emergency, then an additional one. So how does that work? Like, is there a set amount? And again, a lot of people say, okay, I don't make that much, so I can't save as much as Adam could save. So how do people go about that? Is there a number that we're saving, or what is the goal, or what is the plan to get to
so
that?
much in what you just said that I want to unpack, but it is context specific. So what I usually coach people through is first having your deductibles covered. So thinking about your health insurance, thinking about car insurance. If you were to get into any type of accident, emergency, what would be the deductible for all of those things added up? And that should be your baseline for how much you should start to aim to save.
Wow, I never heard that before. That's really good.
Some people say $1,000 as well, but like if you think of your car deductible plus your insurance deductible Plus, if you were to go to an emergency room, that's definitely gonna
Right.
go over $1,000.
And like
So
you
I
said,
typically
everything
tell
is different
people
for different people.
it is different for different people. So I just tell them, like, think about your deductibles, add it up. That should be your baseline.
Oh, wow, you're so smart. Where did I find you? When it comes to, okay, so back when it comes to relationships and having joint account or even credit cards together, how should that work? Or should we do that? So let's start with the accounts, for instance.
Yeah.
Should we have joint accounts or should we not?
I don't think there's a right answer of whether we should have them or whether we should not. It's just how are you managing it and how are people on the same page about how it should be managed. So if you're having a joint account, is there transparency? Do you both see what's coming in and what's going out, right? Or if you have separate accounts but you are sharing bills, is there still transparency? I think that's the common theme. It's not so much about whether we do this or whether we don't. It's like, how is it making us feel? Do we feel like we have open line of communication? Do I feel like you're hiding something from me because we have separate accounts? Because the reality is you could still have a joint account and still feel blindsided by your partner,
Right.
right? But like, what are the conversations that are happening behind the scenes that's creating that feeling?
Say you're in a really great relationship, we have a joint and maybe we have our separate. I've had situations where people just have their joint thing because we love each other and we trust each other and they could be going strong for 5-10 years.
Yeah.
But what is to say if, he goes somewhere, he meets some young, sexy thing and he decides this is who I want to be with. And then he takes all the money out of the account. Where does that leave me? Because I loved my husband so much, we had everything joint.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have, you're
That's
saying,
a good question.
That is a good question. You're saying you have a husband.
Right.
This is a husband
yeah,
or
husband. You know, we do have joint accounts because you're paying the bills or whatever, but you don't know what is on the horizon when you're in a relationship. Everything could be amazing. And a lot of times, like you talked about in the beginning, we all love each other so much and we have joint accounts because we're trusting everything is fine.
Yeah.
Then he meet that skank and then he runs off with her and he takes all the money. Where does that leave me?
I just feel like you jumped a whole bunch of steps. That's like, how did we get to the part where he just walked away?
I'm talking because I know of situations which has happened.
But like, what did not happen that caused him to walk away and not say anything and leave you in the dark?
Yeah, I just talking about my money. He could go leave me with a dark with a whatever skank he picked up. But at the end of the day, what I am saying, I feel that everyone should have their separate bank accounts because you definitely don't know. And some people might say, but you're in a relationship and you should trust each other and he should even know about it. Why should he know about it? Why?
Why not?
Because you never know. You don't know.
So you're walking into the relationship already thinking
so
that
you're one of those people that trust. Oh, I love you. I trust you.
No,
We're
it's
married.
not about that. It's about asking the right questions before making the commitment.
Yes, all these things is cute in the beginning. How much time you don't see people walk down the aisles, be all happy, and 6 years later, all of a sudden he's sleeping with your best friend. And I am just saying, shouldn't they just prepare in case that happened? But are you saying that they should just be so trusting, ask the right questions so everything goes really well?
I think
hopefully?
trust is built as a result of that communication that I keep coming back to. Like, you have to be open and having those conversations on a regular basis, not just when problems arise, but when things are going well. Let's talk about why are things going well. What are you doing that's making this go well? What am I doing that's making this go well? How can we hold each other accountable to keep doing it? And when you're feeling the slightest bit of, ooh, I might want to slip away and look at something else, let's talk about that. How many relationships are actually having those hard conversations?
Most are not, because like you said in the beginning, we're so into, I love you, oh my God, this is amazing. We're spending time together, I love him.
Yeah, it's a
so
mask
well.
for a lot of things. You have to do your due diligence of like vetting that person. You got to know who you're committing
Okay, so
to.
say I'm so trusting, fine, we have joint accounts, everything is wonderful, but you're telling me I should secretly have insurance on him, right?
Insurance how?
In case he died in that accident where the brakes wasn't working.
I think you should both have life insurance policies, yes.
But his own should be more?
Why would it be more?
I don't know, I'm asking. This is a question.
I mean, it depends. Well, life insurance, you typically want to get a life insurance policy if you have dependents or if you have somebody who is going to depend on your income in the case of like the loss of you as a human on this earth. you would typically want to shoot for 10 to 12 times your annual income in life insurance. But for people who are single, who have no dependents and have nobody dependent on them in the case they leave this earth for their income, life insurance is not as much of a priority.
I'm going to cancel my policy.
No, I don't think you should cancel your policy. I just think in terms of the amount that you may need may not be as big because you don't have people dependent on you.
Okay, thank you for throwing that in my face. Now that I'm depressed through this whole episode,
Girl!
let me just ask one or two more questions. What are some helpful habits to help someone just starting out on their financial journey?
You got to get an accountability partner, somebody who's already doing it.
Oh, because I'm like, some
Somebody
people
who's
might
already
be broke
doing
trying
it.
to tell you what to do.
No, you got to have somebody. You got to have somebody in your life who has proven evidence of already being successful, and it doesn't have to be somebody that you have to pay to do it, right? Like when I started my wealth building journey, I just got on YouTube and just started finding people who are living the life that I want to live. And I started watching their videos. I'm in the shower, I'm watching their videos. I'm going to sleep, I'm watching their videos. I'm reading their books. You just have to immerse yourself in that environment of people who are already doing it.
Okay, I love that because that's true. And that's true for anything or any goals that you want to accomplish. Definitely, there's always mentors there waiting, even if you don't know them personally. Hi, Oprah. So what for you, right? What was the thing that, like you said, you was in debt? Did you wake up one morning and decide, okay, this is what I want to do with my life? How did that come about?
Ever since I was a little girl, I've always wanted to make a lot of money. Like,
Nice.
always. I just always wanted to be rich. So seriously, like, but growing up, I saw two extremes in my household. I had a dad who was very tight with money, saved, but was very tight, didn't really enjoy what life had to offer
Right.
as a result of like working hard, which both of my parents had strong work ethic, but I think the way that they created a balance of like, you know, work and play was different. My mom, on the other hand, was a little bit more on the playful side, but not so diligent about the savings, right? And so I
Right.
had these two extremes, and I was like, well, I kind of don't want either one. I kind of
Right.
want like somewhere in the middle. And so went to college and thankfully like got a scholarship, right? And graduated with minimal debt, but the debt that I did have, was very determined to pay it off. And I couldn't honestly see past that. Like I was like, I don't know what I want. I know I want to be rich, but like I don't see what I can do after I pay this debt until I pay the debt.
Right.
And so I say that to say, tackle your first thing. Don't get so overwhelmed thinking that like, I don't have it all figured out, so I can't take step one. Just take the first step and get that done and let the universe open up whatever is going to open up for you. And so that's what I did. I attacked my debt, paid that off, and then I had a flood of just people coming into my life. I swear to you, it was crazy. So many people coming into my life. Literally met somebody working for an investment bank in the front of a boxing gym that I was going to. And the gym happened to be closed that day. But like we started talking about investing. He started telling me about open up that Roth IRA. You're in your 20s. You need to do that. You need to start investing. Here's what an index fund is. Here's what an ETF is. But like all of this came as a result of me taking that first step. I wasn't searching for it. I didn't even know what I wanted to do next, but it all just came to me. And from there, like I started investing. I purchased the house. Like I did all these things, and I'm still on that journey of learning and discovering. Like on my way here, I'm sitting on the train and I'm learning about, like, I thought I had it all figured out with investing, right? I'm like, I got my investments set up.
Right.
It's on autopilot. Like I got my X amount going here, there. And I'm on the train and it's talking about the importance of rebalancing your portfolio. So basically when you invest, right, and you set that money aside based on how much you want to put in different equities, stocks, cash, bonds, you have to actually rebalance your portfolio to level it out. And I never knew that. But I literally just learned that today.
And what is,
on
for
the
people
train.
that don't know, what is leveling out mean when you're balancing these things?
Yeah, so when you're talking about investing, right, you're creating what is called an asset allocation. You're determining what assets go in what categories and how much. And so for some people who have a longer timeline, they might invest more in stocks versus people who have a shorter timeline or do not have a high risk tolerance. Let's say they like get real scared when the stock market gets a little
Right.
crazy. They might
Okay.
invest in safer assets such as bonds, right? But when you are deciding, okay, let's say I want to put 50% towards stocks and I want to put 50% towards bonds, you can do that. But as you are allocating money towards those assets, the stock market is going to determine how much money you're making in each. So if the bond market is going down, your stock allocation is going to go up. Even though you put 50% of your money towards stocks,
Right.
that doesn't mean that it's going to represent 50% of your portfolio.
Gotcha.
And so you have to rebalance it, because if you don't rebalance it, then you're going to wind up with eventually 70% stocks and 30% bonds, and that's maybe not what you wanted.
Like you mentioned doing this at an early age. Like the generation, and every generation I feel bash the next generation, to be honest, but to me it's a cycle. But when you knowing what you know about your peers or people younger than you, and how you see how they spend money, what are some things or advice you can give to them to get them right on track, instead of just wasting the money and just enjoying life like they're gonna be 16 or 25 forever?
Yeah. I think the first thing is, like, you got to build a level of awareness. You got to see how you're showing up financially in this world. I think, like, a lot of people think that they don't spend that much. I hear that a lot, especially in my age group. Like, oh, no, I don't spend that much. No, I only go out to happy hour like once a week. It's not that big deal. But then when you look at your bank statements and you're like, damn, I spent $400 just on one weekend, it gives you that different level of awareness that you never saw. And I think starting with the level of awareness is first. Getting that accountability partner too, like I said, who can help you like close the gap. So like I help people in my coaching practice see themselves and see what you're saying that you actually do actually match up with what your behavior shows, right? So you say you don't eat out, but what are the
Right.
numbers saying? Are they saying the same thing? And if they're not, is that what we want? How do we close that gap? So that's what I help people do.
Wow. Oh, girl, you need to have your own show.
Yeah.
No, it's really good information, because it have me myself thinking about it. And one thing I definitely want to touch before we even think of going, when a lot of times they say the best thing to do is start your own business, because you have your own business basically, compared to having a job. Like when it comes to the benefits tax wise, is one definitely better than the other?
Yeah. So having a job, you earn, you get taxed, and then you spend.
And then they tax you when you spend.
And then they tax you when you spend, exactly. But when you're a business owner, you earn, you spend, then you get taxed.
Okay, repeat that again. So when you have a job,
When you have a job, you earn, you get taxed, you spend, and then you get taxed again, like you
Right.
said. So earn, tax, spend, tax. We need like a visual.
yeah.
Put that up when you
Maybe,
when you,
yeah, I
when
think
you,
I'll
when you
put
do
that
your little
up.
editing thing. Yeah.
And when you have a business.
When you have a business, you earn, spend, then you get taxed.
Oh, wow.
And so you got to be strategic too, like getting a team around you. That's something that I'm learning as well. Like, how do I build a team around me that helps me understand what deductions or things that I should be paying for in my business that lower my tax liability, right? Because if I'm earning and then I can spend, well, I want to spend as much as I possibly can to lower that tax liability, so that when Uncle Sam come with his hand out, I'm like, I ain't got nothing for you, bro. Like, I done spent it all.
See, you're dropping all these different gems. I appreciate that. I had one question, it might even be a personal question, having to do with like when you're filling out your W-4, right? As a single person, in case you want to talk to me, you have to be at least 5'9", okay? So when you're single and you fill out this W-4, someone, when I was now in the game and now had a job, someone told me, okay, make sure you just put 0 for everything, right? Because you're going to get more money back.
Yeah.
So explain, is there a right way or a wrong way to fill out your W-4 when you have a job?
Yeah, there is a right way. And it depends on what your deductions are. So for me, I do have a W-2 job, right? But at the same time, I have a business. And so on my job, I actually claim 0 so that they can take the max amount of taxes out, because that helps balance out what I owe on the business side. At the same time, some people, like myself,
Right.
I tithe. That's a deduction. And if you choose to take the max out and then you tithe, that can create even more of a refund if that's something that you desire to have. I'm not personally a fan of big refunds. You could be better off getting that money throughout the year, but nonetheless, it's all about like, what are you spending throughout the year that is considered a deduction, and how do you work and plan backwards from that? You got to talk to a CPA. Basically,
God.
got to talk to a CPA. That's out of my
Girl,
league.
you need like an hour or 2 hour show, okay? Because I'm like trying to be like, remember this, thank God this is recorded so I can go back and check.
Yeah.
So if it's one thing that you want anybody who's coming to you considering getting a coach or want to find more information, is anything in particular, like advice you want to give them for yourself?
Advice that I want to give anyone who's coming to me,
Coming
or
to you
just
or thinking to search somebody out like you, or trying to find a coach that would help them with their finances. Anything they should be looking for in particular when they come into someone like you to find the right person?
Yeah. In terms of the person, you definitely want to have a person who has evidence of where you're trying to go, right? Like track record of success of where you're trying to go. If you're trying to get out of debt, this has to be someone who has either gotten themselves out of debt or has a track record of doing so with other people. I think there's also value in the connection that you have with that person. Like, listen to your intuition, your gut. Like
Yeah.
when you're having those conversations with those people, not everybody is for you.
Right.
And so if there's something that's said in a consultation call that like doesn't strike a, or does strike a nerve
Yeah.
with you, and it does make you very uncomfortable, listen to that. I think there's also a difference between making you uncomfortable, but like you feel like there's peace in that uncomfortability, versus like, I'm uncomfortable and like I feel unsafe. I think
Gotcha.
safety is really important when you're working with somebody as it pertains to your finances, because it's a very vulnerable topic. Like you
Right.
are really putting your heart and soul
Okay,
out
makes
for
sense.
somebody else to
Well, the good news is
evaluate.
I feel safe with Autumn Green, okay? So with that said, Autumn, can you tell people where to find you if they're searching for you, searching for a financial coach to get themselves on track?
Yes, I'm on social media at this time. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. And what's the other one? Facebook. I'm on Facebook at My Stewardship Journey. My Stewardship Journey.
So don't worry, guys. I'm going to make sure that is at the bottom for you all to definitely check out Autumn Green, because she is awesome, as you can see, even though she tried to take over my show in the beginning.
Yeah.
That's okay. As always, you can find me on all social media. So I just want to thank you, Autumn.
Thank you.
And remember, Mss Francois is always saying exactly what you're thinking.